I'm your huckleberry.
What's up, fishing friends? Welcome to Tim's School of Fish, and class is in session. So I've been away for a few weeks. Most of you guys know my brother passed away. I took it really hard. He was the closest person to me, not only in age, but the closest person to me that I ever lost. And the thing about grief is it just never goes away. You just learn to deal with it better. It's time to, get back on my horse and just keep plowing forward. Well, then I followed that up with a nice bout of the flu. I took a COVID test, not COVID. Feels like the flu because I've had some fever, but I've got a ton of Benchmade knives from the Apex Pass Around group. I've got a bunch of stuff that I need to review, a bunch of stuff that I need to give away. So I'm just going to power through this froggy voice. So today we're going to take a look at a bunch of Benchmade knives. So without further ado, let's get this camera turned around and take a closer look.
Hey man, do me a favor and go ahead and hit that like button. While you're at it, go ahead and subscribe. It sure does help the channel. We sure do appreciate it a lot. Thank you very much, man.
All right, so a whole bunch of Benchmade knives. You guys know Benchmade knives. I'm not going to review all these, just give you my thoughts on them. So we've got the Bugout. Thing about the Bugout, these are all new knives, and you guys know that Benchmade right out of the box, the action is not very great, so there's some break-in time. Now, where do I stand on the Bugout? I like the Bugout. I like that it's super light. Of course, I think all Benchmade knives are a little bit overpriced. And for the Bugout, I know that it can stand up to some abuse. It just doesn't feel like it can stand up to some abuse to me. It feels like it's got too much steel for the knife that it is, for the way that I would use the Bugout. It's not going to be a hard use knife for me, so I can't see paying that premium for the steel and the butterfly tax for a Bugout. Would I ever buy one? Yeah, probably. I don't own one, but if I bought one, I live in a Navy town. If I bought one, it's going to be on sale, and I'm going to get one of my buddies to get it from the Navy Exchange so I can get it at a much better price. But for me, I like the fact that the Bugout is super light. It just seems like it's more steel than it needs to be for a knife of this type. I'm going to go for, a Pyrite Light or a CJRB Acacia, with a decent budget steel, because that's how I'm going to use a knife like this. It's not going to be a hard use knife, and I'm going to get, good action, decent steel. It's going to be super light, just like the Bugout. So probably I would pick something like that, or even the Ozark Grail Benchmade clone, which isn't really a clone. It's kind of like an homage. It's D2 steel. It's $10. For a light duty knife, this will do me just fine. This is the new and improved version with the reversible clip. I'm going to review this one really soon. So for me, I'm going to go for something like that instead of the cost of a Bugout. Now, mini Bugout, I love this knife. When I buy a Benchmade knife, this is probably going to be the one that I buy. Again, do I need S30V on a knife this small? No, but it's a cool knife. I like it. I would probably pay for this one. Again, I would get one of my buddies to get it from the Navy Exchange. Let's talk about the Redoubt. Now, I freaking love this one. I love the Redoubt. This is the Tonto version. I reviewed the drop point version before. I would probably get the drop point before I would get the Tonto, but I love this handle on this. It's much more substantial. I love the stippling on the grips here. It's aggressive, but it's not overly aggressive. The handle is much chunkier than the Bugout, and it just feels better in my hand. It feels like a more substantial knife that it can stand up to some more abuse. So this is one that if I were in the market for, I would buy this one. I really like the Redboubt. I think, I have wide hands and this just feels better in my hand. I really like the Redboubt. This is called the PSK. This one has aluminum scales. It's got this little back lock thing, axis lock, and it's assisted. And I tell you what, I absolutely hate this thing. And this is a first production run. This is from a pass around group. There's a few reasons that I hate it. Number one, the lock on here is super sticky. This axis lock is sticky, and again, I know there's some break-in time for Benchmade knives, but again, there's no break-in time for my Ozark Grail. There's no lock stick, no break-in time. This one works just great. So yeah, lots of lock stick and grind on this one. And this little back lock, I don't even know what they call it. I can't be bothered to look it up, but it's real gritty, real sticky. And the other thing that I don't like about this, because it's assisted, it's a two-handed close. And to me, that kind of defeats the purpose of an axis lock. An axis lock is one-handed operation. You can see how sticky that lock is. So, it's a two-handed close. The other thing is, this thing is freaking heavy as a brick bat. There's a little bit of milling for some weight reduction, but, it's got these steel liners in there with the aluminum, and it's just heavy as shit. I can't see myself carrying this thing in my pocket because it's almost 6 ounces. I mean, it looks cool. It's super satisfying when it opens, but sticky lock, two-handed close. This thing is gritty. I'm not a fan of this one. Don't like the PSK at all. Next up is the Benchmade Shootout. Now, I reviewed a Shootout before. It was a black one, and I absolutely blasted it. It had some of the worst action of any knife ever. I will link that to the end screen. Go check it out. Some of it was humor, some of it was truth, but I did not like it at all. This one is much better. The action feels better. It feels more like a Microtech. Not exactly like a Microtech, but the first one that I handled felt like a freaking Jack-in-the-Box. It was horrible. The action on this one is much better. Plus, it freaking looks really, really cool. Now, would I purchase a Shootout? No. I'm not a huge fan of OTF knives. I'm just not. They're a little too tactical for me. It's just not my thing. I actually prefer out the side autos as opposed to out the front. I know it's pretty weird, but anyway, this one is much better. I don't know what they did between that first one I reviewed and this one, but whatever they did, it's much better. Not bad at all. Would I buy it? No. And now the mini narrows, $580. Is it narrow? Yeah, super freaking narrow, but I do not like it. The ergonomics are horrible. I agree with Jake from Uncommon EDC. It is just uncomfortable to hold. It is uncomfortably thin. It is a 3-fingered knife. Now, the action is great. It's great. Some of the best action on any Benchmade knife I've ever handled. But is it $580 great? Absolutely not. I do not often agree with Metal Complex. In fact, his opinions and my opinions could not be more different. I disagree with him on most things, but I agree with him on this one. I don't know who this knife is meant to appeal to. So he categorizes people as users, enthusiasts, and collectors. For me, you're either a user or a collector, and most of us fall somewhere in between. Now, if you're a user, just a guy that has a couple knives and you want a good USA made knife that's going to last you a lifetime, I can see where those people that don't consume EDC and knife videos, why they would buy a Bugout. I get it. I can see why they would buy it. It's light, it's a good steel, it's got the warranty, it's USA made, it's all that good stuff. I can see why those guys, users, would spend that money for that knife, but not this one. When you get into that price point where you're talking about over $500, you're getting into the realm of people that are what he calls enthusiasts, I call collectors. As collectors, we want more at that price point. We want some exotic steel, some exotic finish, some new handle material, some design features that you don't see on every other knife. This is just a knife. It has none of that. I don't understand who this appeals to. Now, I get it. To make the tolerances and everything at this small scale requires a certain amount of precision, and that costs money. And that's great. That's all well and good. I get why it costs more. But at $580, who does this appeal to? In my opinion, it's only the hardcore Benchmade fans that can say they have one, or those people that want to flex on Instagram. But in my opinion, if you're going to spend $580 for a knife for flex appeal, get a Sabenza. Why would you get a Chris Reeve? Why would you get this? It looks like liners. It's horribly uncomfortable. It's just a regular old drop point. I don't get it. I don't understand. I don't know who the target audience is for this one, but I think it's a horrible, horrible knife. It's horribly uncomfortable. I just don't get it. I don't get it. I don't like it. I don't get it. So, anyway, just some thoughts on a few Benchmade knives today. I really need to get these things off in the mail. I apologize to anyone who's waiting for these. I got a bunch of knives that I need to review, a bunch of giveaways that I need to do. We're giving away that brand new ROSECRAFT blades, Ocoee River Kayak, the new version coming up. I got a bunch of stuff, so you guys stay tuned. As always, I appreciate you for watching. Give me a thumbs up. Drop me a comment down in the comment section. Let me know if you have any of these knives. Let me know what you think about them. Let me know what you think about the Benchmade Mini Narrows. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. Just click my logo right over there. That's it for this episode of Tim's School of Fish, boys and girls. Sorry about my froggy voice. Class dismissed.